Hello, my name's Anthony Manning and I'm the Dean for Internationalisation at the University of Kent. And today I'm going to talk about the topic of curriculum internationalisation. There are some key questions and considerations which we're going to explore, and I think this is a really important topic, particularly in the situation we find ourselves today in a very internationalised higher education. So I'm going to give you an overview now of the main elements that we're going to discuss today. Firstly, I'm going to ask two key questions. What is curriculum internationalisation? And secondly, why is curriculum internationalisation important? And then we're going to move on to three different considerations: challenges for curriculum internationalisation, identified examples of curriculum internationalisation at Kent so that we can put this into context, and some requirements for development and sustainability, which is obviously key for the future. So let's start then with a definition of what is curriculum internationalisation, because without that we can't move ahead much further. So this definition is provided by a key expert in the field, Betty Leask, who is at La Trobe University. And this definition states that internationalisation of the curriculum is the incorporation of international and/or global dimensions into the content of the curriculum, as well as the outcomes, assessment tasks and teaching methods, as well as support services and programme of study. And this shows, I think, that the definition is really multi-layered and multifaceted, just as the wider scope of internationalisation in higher education is. So let's move on now to the second question, which is, why is curriculum internationalisation important? Why is it worthwhile investing in this area of higher education? Well, I think we only have to look across campuses and universities within the UK or indeed other countries to see that we are comprised of international communities, as are the cities and towns that we're based in. So those communities are made up of different individuals with different understandings, alternative approaches and goals, and therefore it's important that the study which is undertaken by those people is equally diverse. Then if we move on to critical thinking is something which I think many people are aware of as being a key transferable skill from university, in that it allows us to evaluate and consider information before decisions are made, and as a result reach understandings which people might consider to be more rounded based on the fact that different avenues have been explored, different alternatives have been thought about before a decision has been made about something to do or a direction to go in. So with that in mind, curriculum internationalisation contributes many rich and varied thoughts and concepts into a curriculum to allow for that critical thinking to be supported. Then we have knowledge development and application. So the development of knowledge, one could argue, will be all the richer if it has taken into account different concepts. So as well as being stronger through the critical thinking embodied within it, it would be also richer and more reflective of a wider group of people, let's say, if internationalisation of the curriculum has facilitated it in that way, or it has embedded within it different elements of internationalisation. Then if we look at employability, then we're all striving in this current world to develop from our education key skills which may be for development as individuals, but in many cases increasingly are focused on employability as our young people are forced to compete internationally now for positions after university. And therefore having a diverse and internationalised curriculum allows us to create graduates which are internationally ready and internationally relevant in the world of work. So challenges to curriculum internationalisation. Yes, it's important to think about what the benefits are, but unless we think of what the challenges may also be, we could come up against certain blockers which may prevent us from an optimal situation in realising aspects of curriculum internationalisation. And those hurdles or challenges may be in different areas, as noted here. So some personal challenges may come from person's individual mindset or skills or their willingness to engage with this particular area of education. They may not be convinced, and therefore they may need support or further explanation to understand how curriculum internationalisation may work for them, and the fact that it is not a one-size-fits-all process. Then other broader cultural aspects may also be emanating from different disciplines. So different subject areas may find it easier to refer to examples of curriculum internationalisation, or to draw on international principles when bringing them into the classroom. So, for example, in sciences, it may not be so easy to refer to particular contexts, although it may be possible to draw on application of knowledge to different areas of employability, or it may possibly be useful to refer to different sources of knowledge from the many thinkers around the world who've contributed to the field. In other subjects, perhaps business, it's easier to refer to trade internationally or other aspects of internationalisation more explicitly. So you can see from those crude examples that the approach to curriculum internationalisation needs to change according to the subject area and the people involved. Then, of course, all of that will only work if it's coming through an institution which supports curriculum internationalisation and values it. And thankfully at the University of Kent we can see that it is now embedded in our institutional plan, in our internationalisation strategy, and there are structures available to start to support staff to develop the good work which has already been undertaken and move it further so that we get even more from our curriculum internationalisation here. So if we're looking at examples of where internationalisation of the curriculum can be found, we need to go back to the example of the definition provided by Betty Leask at the beginning, which shows where some of those aspects of curriculum internationalisation can be embedded. So we can first look at learning outcomes. Those are found often in module descriptions, which are the guiding principles for the programs and modules that we provide. And within many of our modules we can see internationalised features which make a real feature of the positive aspects of learning from internationalised areas within our curriculum. And some of those more explicit examples can be found in some of the subjects taught in our European centres in Paris, Brussels, Rome and Athens, but others are in modules which are taught in Canterbury because of the very international transferable nature of those modules. We also have lots of examples of module content with international features. We even have a series of modules which we've labelled global engagement modules. There are more than 140 options here for students to add to their degree, and those are opportunities for students to add to the internationalisation already in their degree by choosing other modules to do that. They may be languages, they may be investigating aspects of culture or any other field which they may be interested in. Then if we look at activities and methodology, we might be looking at harnessing the international nature of the classroom and the students within it for group work activity, or perhaps field trips to international destinations, or activities which really draw on different ways of thinking, perhaps stemming from different experts in the field, which may be in the expertise of the lecturer who's teaching the class. If we look at assessment, then there's also lots of good examples at Kent of looking beyond the essay, where we can see examples of assessments which use international contexts as their bedrock. There's a good example in our actuarial science programs, which uses the context of an international conference as a form of assessment for students studying that subject. So, as I've said, taking advantage of our staff and students and their inherent internationalisation is key, and we can see lots of ways in which that has woven into the curriculum, as well as explicit mechanisms for building curricula and subjects and modules which have within them these international features. So requirements for sustainability. So I've mentioned now some of the key features required for internationalisation and some of the examples of where it can be found in this local context. But in order to move forward and be sure that curriculum internationalisation can continue and can develop, though I think there are certain things that which need to be in place. So that is a bespoke approach which continues to take into account the different nature of subject areas. So you can't treat curriculum internationalisation in science subjects the same as in humanities in all cases. So we need to work with colleagues to see what is feasible and what is the most logical approach in that context. So there's training required for staff to continue to build skills in this area and to highlight the benefits which stem from curriculum internationalisation. Then support also for students, and when I say students I mean home students and international students, in recognising the importance and relevance of internationalisation of the curriculum. We have an example here on the slide of the Kent Global Passport, which is going to try to get students to identify within their studies key examples of internationalisation, which may not be traditional study abroad experience, but may simply be activities working with people who are sitting next to them in class or considering new concepts which may have been brought to them from different cultures. Then if we look at digital media, I can't find myself in this situation recording a video for the Think Kent series without contemplating the need for ongoing attention in digital media for the future. If we want curriculum internationalisation to work and we're passionate about the impact of the great research and knowledge coming from this university, we need to continue to look at ways of bringing Kent to the wider international world rather than just bringing people to Kent. And thankfully, within an institution like Kent, we can be confident that we will still have institutional prioritisation of such matters. As I mentioned before, it's woven into our strategies, but that needs to remain in order that people can continue to see the relevance and can continue to have the resources to work on such matters. Thank you very much indeed.